Hey guys, welcome back to the Project DIY channel. On today's project, we're going to put an alternator in my 2010 Camry. Let's get started. So my daughter called me the other day. She said, "Dad, my battery light's on." So I knew that either meant one of two things. Either the alternator was bad or the battery was bad. So the first thing I did was check the battery. The battery was 12 volts exactly. Battery seemed good, no issues. So the next thing I did was checked the battery voltage with it running. It was still 12 volts. And after driving it around a little while, that voltage dropped down to about 11.5. So the alternator is not charging the battery. So I called around looking for an alternator and found one at the local parts house, $350. And I said, no thank you. Looked on Rock Auto, found one for $200, and that's without a core. You don't have to send the other one back. If I'd had to send the other one back, it would have been another $30 in shipping to send it back, so it would have still been up there. So I just ordered the one without a core, one where you don't have to send the core back, and $200. That's still a little high in my opinion, but that's the best I could find. So I can't show you how to test your charging system right now. Battery's completely dead now, and so I can't start it. So after we get done putting this on, I'll show you how we check that. So the first thing we're going to do is unhook this positive lead from the alternator. Then we're going to unhook this plug down here below, and then using this fitting right here, we're going to take a breaker bar, pull the tensioner back up, and that will loosen the belt, and we can pull the belt off the alternator. Then there's a bolt here, and there's one down underneath. We'll take those out. The alternator will slide right out. Also, there's a clip right here. We'll undo this clip and get this wiring harness loose from the alternator body. All right, let's get the battery unhooked. And now we'll get the positive cable from the alternator unhooked. Next, we'll unplug this cable here. This has a little tab on the side here you push in on, pull it off. Next, we'll get the cable loose from the body of the alternator.
If I could, I'd put my face on the camera.
Do it. Stick your head down there.
No thanks. I'm too ugly. Do not put that on YouTube.
That's going right on there. I'll tell you that right now.
The too ugly part?
Both. That wiring harness back out of the way. Alright, next we're going to loosen the alternator bolts up. Just going to loosen that one. Extremely tight. Alright, next I'm going to get on this tensioner bolt here, the breaker bar, pull this up, and that's going to loosen the belt up, and then we can take it off the pulley of the alternator. Let's try that. Yeah. pull that toward the front of the car, loosens the belt up, pull the belt off. You want to kind of keep that belt down here and under your alternator pulley, because if you don't, it can fall off down in there, and it's kind of difficult to get those back on. Alright, I'm going to leave my breaker bar on there. Take this top bolt out. Alright, and at this point our alternator is loose. Should be able to fish it out of there. So if yours is stuck like mine is, may need to get down in here with a big screwdriver and pry around on it. Pry it up off of that mounting bracket there. Alright, I'm going to have to get you guys back out of the way. It's going to take a little more persuasion than what I've got. Going with a pry bar and a hammer this time. And there we go. Didn't need the hammer, but I had it just in case. The installation is just the reverse. And the top bolt. Loose and not tighten it up. Put the bottom bolt in. Tighten it down. And I'm going to tighten the top one up. And the bottom one. Belt back over here. Pull the tensioner forward. Line the belt back up and check and make sure that the belt is still in the correct position on your crank pulley and the pulley below the alternator. Right, that all looks good. Alright, next we've got to put our battery wire back on. You don't want to use any electric tools on this. This bolt's too small, it'll strip it out. Use a ratchet. Go by feel. Now we want to plug this plug back in here until it snaps. Make sure your cover's on there. Make sure your cover's on the boots on this one. Then the old alternator has this bracket that holds that cable in place. So we'll switch that over to here. Lock that back down. Tighten the bolt. Alright, I think we're ready to test. About forgot to hook my battery cable back up. Tighten it down in a minute. Since my battery is dead, I am going to have to use my little boost box. Alright, got that on there, we'll turn it on. We'll make sure our battery light goes off. Alright, battery's been dead for a while, so that's probably the reason why it doesn't want to start and stay running. Battery light is off. Alright, so here's what I want to see. I had 12 volts on this originally when we had the problem. What you want to see is about 14 volts. 14.3. Alright, I'll give you a little bit of an explainer as to how this works. Maybe this will make more sense. So in order for your battery to charge, the voltage coming from the alternator has to be higher than the voltage of the battery. If the battery is 12 volts, usually when they're in a normal state of charge, they're around 12 volts. The alternator puts out 14. That's to keep that battery charged up and provide enough current to your car to run your headlights and all the high-powered accessories that you might use. So when I tested this, across the battery I only had 12 volts. That means that the alternator didn't have enough voltage to charge the battery because it has to be higher than 12 volts for it to charge. So generally what happens whenever you have a low voltage at the battery like that, your alternator is not putting out enough volts to charge the battery, and that can be due to a lot of different things. Belt slippage, your rectifier may be bad in the back of your alternator. There's lots of different things that can cause that. Could even be a wiring issue. If that wire on top of here has a bad connection, you may not get enough voltage back over here to your battery to charge it. Generally, most time, the alternator is just bad, and you have to replace it. Alright guys, I'm going to let this run for a while, charge the battery back up. If your battery voltage is good, and you're still having issues with it starting, or if you've got 14 volts across it with it running, but you shut the car off after it's ran for a while, and maybe 15 or 20 minutes, you shut it off and you've only got like 8, 9, 10 volts on your battery, that usually means the battery's bad. Alright guys, I appreciate you watching. Now you'll be able to put an alternator on your 2010 Camry if the time ever arises. If you wouldn't mind, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, the notification bell. While you're doing all that, I think you should watch this video.